It wasn't an average Friday at the Rite Aid Pharmacy in Cedar Springs. The place was robbed at gunpoint yesterday afternoon around 4 o'clock. Police say a man came in, showed a gun, and told an employee that he'd, quote, harmed people in the past. He took off after getting some money and disappeared into woods that were behind another area business. A K-9 unit was brought in to try and find the person, but lost the scent. If you have any information on this robbery, call Silent Observer 616-774-2345. All the people inside got out safely as a Grand Rapids home caught fire this morning. It happened in the 100 block of Pleasant Street. Grand Rapids Fire Department says the first call came in just before 9:30 last night. When our crew got to the scene about 9:45, the fire was already out. Gas was shut off to that home as a precaution, and there was a hydrant nearby which helped the firefighters put the flames out so quickly. No word yet on how much damage is done, but you could see some there on the side of the house. Some of the fire departments on the scene of a huge blaze in Parchment are now starting to go home. At one point, there were between 8 and 10 departments there. The fire chief says they are now down to just fighting hot spots. The first call came in at 1:30 this morning. It was at an old paper mill warehouse near Riverview and Roberts. The fire department tells Fox 17 that no one was in that building. Kids all over West Michigan have wrapped up their first week of school, and one group along the lake shore is working to make a difference in a school district that's fallen on some hard times. The Muskegon Heights Alumni Association is working to organize a new after-school program for kids. They're working with folks at Hope Lighthouse Church to set up shop there. Organizers say not only will it help the kids stay off the streets, but it'll give them a place to do their homework and keep them focused on what's important: education.
Trying to give these kids here in Muskegon Heights another opportunity with a lot of the negative that's been going on. We want to show not only just Muskegon Heights, but we want to show the state, the whole world, that we are trying to move forward and succeed for the greater of the students here in Muskegon Heights.
Warren says they're working with colleges like Baker College, Grand Valley, and Muskegon Community College to get education majors to come in and tutor. They're hoping to kick the program off on October 1st. Good morning, Sarah. Secretary of State John Kerry will meet with his Russian counterpart in Switzerland today to discuss Russia's plan to have Syria surrender its chemical weapons in an effort to avoid U.S. military strikes. This, as Russian President Vladimir Putin writes an op-ed for the New York Times. The piece has riled up a lot of people, including Senator Robert Menendez, chairman of the Senate Foreign Relations Committee, who said, quote, "I almost wanted to vomit after reading it." In that op-ed, Putin writes about the need for peaceful solutions, claims that millions around the world view the United States not as a model of democracy, but rather as a nation that relies on brute force. Putin, who's a former KGB agent, does admit that chemical weapons were used in Syria, but he says it was the rebel side who did it to provoke international response, and adds a U.S. military strike without approval from the UN Security Council would constitute an act of aggression and could throw the entire system of international law and order out of balance. Here's more. He says the law is still the law, and we must follow it whether we like it or not. Under current criminal international law, force is permitted only in self-defense or by the decision of the Security Council. Anything else is unacceptable. There are also reports in the Washington Post and CNN that weapons funded by the CIA are now on their way to Syrian rebels. Live in the newsroom, Tim Doty, Fox 17 News. New this morning, Russia and the United States have reached a deal to get rid of Syria's chemical weapons. The announcement was made this morning by Secretary of State John Kerry. Within a week, Syria must submit a list of all of its chemical weapons, and inspectors must be on the ground no later than November. If Syria doesn't follow these rules, force will be used. A report from UN chemical inspectors is expected to come down on Monday. And another U.S. senator is speaking out after Russian President Vladimir Putin wrote an op-ed in the New York Times. It's Arizona Senator John McCain, and he's reportedly planning to respond to the piece by Putin by writing an article of his own. According to Foreign Policy magazine, McCain has agreed to write a column for the Russian newspaper Pravda. The column will reportedly attack Putin's leadership. Earlier this week, Putin's op-ed in the New York Times argued against U.S. military strikes in Syria and criticized U.S. foreign policy in a way that many American lawmakers said they found insulting. McCain's office has promised to submit his column by Wednesday.
Week 3 of the Blitz is in the books, and if you weren't up long enough to see all the highlights from last night's games, we got you covered. Let's start with our game of the week. Rockford at Muskegon. Historic Hackley Stadium is the site of the game of the week. This was a one-sided affair late first quarter. Scoreless. Big Reds option to John Hall. Taking it around the right side. He'll get inside the Rockford 25. That would set up an Adrian Braceno field goal, making it 3-0 home team. Second quarter, Big Reds on the move. They hand it to Hall. This time he's going to throw it. Connecting with Jovier Kennedy. Touchdown, 10-0 Big Reds in the lead after a Rockford fumble. Muskegon taking advantage of the short field. Deshaun Thrower to Justin Foster. Nobody was around him. Big Reds up 17-0 at the half. How about this? They keep pouring it on in the second and win the game of the week 45-0. Third straight road game to open the season for the Sailors of Mona Shores, taking on Caledonia. Third quarter, Shores up 26-13. John Hubble for the Scots takes it in from 12. It's 26-20 on the next Caledonia possession. Bad pitch leads to a fumble recovered by Scott Glesson of the Sailors. Shores would take advantage. Tyree Jackson to Asante Brown. He's a good one. Going to be playing college ball. 20-yard touchdown. Lead is 12 late in the fourth. Noah Dykstra has it, but loses it. Caledonia recovers the fumble, and they have a chance to trim the lead, but Kobe Wilson cannot get into the end zone. Mona Shores wins 32-20. It's the first time in 30 years they have started 3-0. East Grand Rapids and West Ottawa. First quarter, East David Evans Jr. taking the handoff. Big fella going strong straight ahead for the touchdown. 7-0 EGR. 16-0 West Ottawa on the comeback trail. Jared McNitt to Alex Zimmerman. Remember this combo. You're going to hear it a few more times. Behind two defenders, little button hook after he catches, then goes east and west before eventually getting back to north and south. 54-yard touchdown, 16-7. Third quarter, Pioneers pad the lead again. Mikey Roth, 19 yards to Mason Banbury. It's going to be 23-14 East. But in the fourth, West Ottawa, McNitt and Zimmerman. Told you they'd hook up again. 12 yards, extra point is no good. It's 23-20. Less than a minute left. They do it again. McNitt, Zimmerman again behind the coverage. And that's the go-ahead score. Last chance for East. Roth into the end zone, but it's going to get knocked down. West Ottawa beats East Grand Rapids 27-20. Newaygo and Lakeview, Lions average 51.5, while the Wildcats have only allowed 17 total this season. Let's take a look at the highlights. Lakeview deep in Newaygo territory. Garrett Cavendish taking the handoff, going in for the score. Wildcats 20-8. Same score in the fourth. Rio Heinzman getting it in for the short touchdown. It's 20-14. And Newaygo driving with a minute left on the clock. Heinzman again on the ground, diving for the pylon. Newaygo takes the lead and wins it 21-20. How about Hudsonville? Off to a great start, playing Zeeland East. Looking from above, it's 12-0 at the end of the first half. In the second, Chicks on their first possession. Spencer Viening, 14 yards to the house. It's 12-7. Hudsonville now on their next touch. This is not the things that the coach wants to see. It's on the ground, it's in the hands, it's on the ground, and it's recovered by Zeeland East. They have momentum now. A couple of plays later, Corey Westra gets the corner and is gonna go. Zeeland East wins 14-12 over Hudsonville.